I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual.
Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Kim, and welcome back to another episode of the Flying Intellectual Podcast. On today's episode, we have Danyel Joseph with us from the island of St. Croix. She's an educator, a creative, an entrepreneur with her own clothing line, Raw Society. I'm super excited to have Danyel on the show talking about her mental health journey and the way that she finds the balance between mental health and entrepreneurship. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Peace.
All right.
Danielle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in and logging in and being a part. And I know all this COVID stuff is going on, so thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited, to be a part of this. What you're doing is definitely a beautiful thing. I've actually tuned into some of your episodes in the past, and I just want to say, thank you for informing us on different issues and whatnot. I'm, very proud of what you're doing.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, man. I appreciate that. The platform is just about helping each other. Life is tough enough, being born and not really asking to be here, and we don't have any roadmaps or anything to really kind of help each other. The least we can do is kind of like give a little bit of knowledge that we have attained through, whether it's hitting our head, which it usually happens that way, learning the
Right.
hard way, and try to make it easier for the next generation as much as possible. So I appreciate you being a brave soul and hopping on here. I've always been, inspired by you. You're super driven. Of course, your cousin Cleo has put me on to you, but I knew about you probably around the same time me and Cleo was started dating.
Oh,
So that
oh.
was yeah. And of course, I know some of your family yourself grew up with them, so
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing coming from the island of St. Croix, which is a small community. Even if we didn't know each other personally and we have our little age gap or whatever, we
Yeah,
still kind of come full circle. So that's a blessing, man.
yeah, most.
How Yeah, how have you been how have you been coping with the COVID stuff?
Um, Usually I'm a loner, so
Yeah.
I'm a homebody as well. The most I do is just stay at home, work, try to keep myself active. So it's not really affecting me as much as everyone else, but
Yeah.
I'm, not having that option to take myself out to dinner or go watch a movie is kind of, saddening at times. But I'm hanging in there, just trying to remain positive and hopeful for the future. I'm a little
Absolutely.
distraught about what's happening right now. With these, senseless killings and the police brutality that's
Talk about it. Man, it's
kind of triggering for me right now. So I'm
facts.
just
Facts.
trying
Facts.
to, pray and just, hope for the best, But
Yeah.
it's very detrimental and traumatic, to be witnessing this, at home, and there's not really much that I could do about it. Like, yes, we have a voice on our different social media platforms, but
Yeah.
very, irate and angry inside because it's just like, wow, it's very unjust, for our people to have to be experiencing this.
Absolutely. And and it's like the fight for me is it really, the blessing is obviously that we get to film it. So, and when I say blessing, I'm not saying that's a good thing in terms, but I'm just saying that we do have our ability now to film it, and be able to kind of try our best to hold these people accountable. But on the flip side of it, it is triggering,
Right.
having to see something like that circulate in the internet and gain a bunch of clicks, and
Hmm.
it almost feels like we helping push their own agenda. Seeing a black man
Hmm.
be berated and killed down in the streets like that. But it's we have to kind of try and just we have to be people of action. And
Right.
I think I think I saw a live today, where somebody was saying basically we all have our roles. Find your role and go as hard as you can with that role. So, you might not be the warrior who gonna be in the street and
Hmm.
out at the front lines, and that's okay. But you can be a warrior. We all have a phone. you can spread the word. You can make sure that these people's names are not forgotten about. We can make sure that we are being intentional about who we spending our money with, and that's something we'll get into later,
Mhm.
as well, with you having your own brand and stuff like that. But we got buy black. You know what I'm saying? These people ain't gonna respect us until we hurt the only thing they care about, which is that dollar.
They only care about the dollar, and for generations we've known that the system was not made for us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we have to be more conscious and more aware of the things that we invest our time and energy into, and especially
facts.
funds, because they're using that as a means to control us as a people, and
Hmm.
society. And I think we need to pay attention to what's really going on, the bigger picture, or even a hidden agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really heartbreaking and discerning to witness at this time, especially like 2020. Imagine 400 plus years later, and we still experiencing the same things. Like, the
yeah.
generational curse has not been broken, and it's very heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Let's get into your story a little bit. Obviously, we're from the same place, St. Croix,
Mhm.
but that doesn't always mean that we walk the same paths, or we even like live the same life. So, talk to us about growing up in the Virgin Islands, the island of St. Croix. Your upbringing, your education. Give us Daniel Joseph's backstory.
So my backstory is kind of intricate. Of course, I born and raised in the Virgin Islands. I grew up in a two-parent home. From since I was a little girl, I was always one to be in the limelight. Despite, like, my father kind of being like a public figure in the community, him being a cop and his different
Hmm.
ventures with, running for Senate and things like that. I kind of dabbled in a lot of everything. I
Hmm.
was a little girl. I vied for Miss Junior Calypsonian. I used to sing calypso a lot with my uncle Derby.
Oh wow, I actually did not
Yeah.
know that. Oh, that's dope.
So
Okay.
I grew up singing and playing the banjo. When I was in elementary school, I played about six different instruments. I played the clarinet, the banjo, the guitar, the piano, the drums. I went to Grove School,
Nice.
Rivera. So our
Hmm.
music teacher, he was very fond of us, ensuring that we learn music. Also my grandmother, she plays the organ and the piano. So my
Hmm.
my my family is kind of like, musically gifted, so to speak. And as I got older, I was kind of I was kind of an introvert. I was more to myself. Like, yeah, a lot of people knew me, but I was just, the nod. I in my
Yeah.
books, and when I went to junior high, I went to John H. Woodson. That's where like my transformation, so to speak, came into existence. I vied for Miss John H. Woodson, and my self esteem, went through the roof, even though despite people's perceptions about pageantry and stuff, it did really, it was a very monumental moment in my life.
Oh wow. Yeah. And that's and not to cut you off, but that's an interesting angle, because of course we do kind of hear that negative stereotype about pageants and about how they kind of break down young girls and not or make them not or make them care about the wrong
Right.
things. But on the flip side, you're actually saying that in some ways it actually helped your self-esteem, and it actually helped your
Yeah,
confidence.
actually, in a lot of ways, because when I vied for Miss John H. Woodson, I didn't really care about winning, to be honest. Like my coach, Anif
Wow.
James and Chantel Cogman, they could tell you I didn't care about winning. I really just wanted to perform, put on a good show, and the only thing I wanted to win was Miss Intellect. That's all I cared about. And
Mm.
come to find out, I actually clean up in all categories. I
Oh
pyramid.
wow.
Like,
Clean sweep.
yeah, clean slate. And from there, that's when I saw, like, my self esteem, it went on another level. When I went to high school, I was in a band, I was a majorette, a dancer, I hosted Graffiti Street, which was, I think they actually just started back up recently.
Yeah, I think I saw that. And for those who are listening who don't know exactly what Graffiti Street is, it was a youth TV show that kind of like really touched on like topics that the youth were going through. It was really actually very dope platform, and I'm glad that they're bringing that back
Mhm.
because that's important.
Yeah, so I was a host of that. I also vied for another pageant, Miss Virgin Islands High School America, and I got first runner up. That was big for me as well. And then from since then, in my senior year of high school, I didn't win class president, but I was basically the class president because I planned everything. I planned,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
even down to doing the cover of the yearbook. That was all me as well. There's a lot of things that I accomplished in high school, and it's crazy because originally I was gonna go to Howard and study psychology, but I went to North Carolina A&T State University as instead. My best friend
Okay.
at the time, she was gonna go to Bennett, so I was like, nah, I can't do an all girls school. It's that's too much estrogen for me. It's not going
Real, real.
A&T, and that's where I obtained my bachelor's of science degree in psychology, and now I'm still there, currently pursuing my master's of education in elementary education. So
Beautiful.
to really go back to the question in itself, my experience growing up in the Virgin Islands has really molded me as a person. In terms of me being a chameleon, I'm able to adapt to different people, personality,
Yep.
surroundings, and although I at first, like when I was younger, I used to hate being a cop's daughter and my dad running for Senate. I even used to drive my dad's truck that had his big Senate plus thing, like this picture was plastered in the back of the truck, and I had to drive around to school. And it's like
I actually remember your dad pickup truck, so
I
this is actually very
and
funny.
everybody used to pick on me and make jokes and stuff, but I was like, guess what? I have a right though,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do you have a
as
ride
I said,
though?
like it's
Yeah,
black and I'm
yeah.
driving, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Facts.
for me, at first I used to be ashamed, and like even though like not even this year in itself, I used to think that my parents they expected a lot from me, out of my I'm one of
Yeah.
four for my parents, and out of all of my siblings, they expected the most from me. There was a lot of pressure that I endured, growing up, because everybody
Mm-hmm.
expected me to be very successful and I was doing the right thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
struggled with identity issues in a sense, in terms of like I have like certain aspects of my family that really quote unquote hood, and my mom, like she really
Yeah.
classy and poised. So I kind of struggled in terms of like who I am. And when
Right. Like your classy bougie ratchet
I
as yeah, yeah, savage,
but
yeah.
like my parents, what my dad more specifically, he would always say like with great success comes great responsibility. And I
Absolutely.
just had to make a
Absolutely.
choice. I had to pick a side. Like there's a lot of people that look up to me more than I even thought, especially after
Mm-hmm.
I broadcasted my story when I graduated from A&T for my undergraduate,
Mm-hmm.
and I got like over 3,000 shares and likes and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know like that much people, looked up to me and seek certain advice and things like of that sort from me. So, it's all a beautiful experience in itself, like how everything came into full circle about like where I am right now and where I stand in my life. So it definitely plays an
No,
essential
absolutely.
role in, contributing to the person that I am today.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And I want to go back to something you said because you don't even know like how that resonated. The fact that you were saying there was a lot of pressure on
Hmm.
you now that you look back, to be successful because you were that child out of the four of you, and it's, I get it because I was that kid for my family, like, you know, growing up, I was very heavy in music, classically trained, was in competitions and always in front. And like my dad was just had this pride, it's just this, hey, let me, let me show you what he could do kind of thing. And it was, my mom always expected me to get certain grades. And, I didn't recognize till later on in life as I was going through my own personal mental health journey it took a toll because, you telling a child, this is my expectation of you, which we should all have expectations, but it's how you do it. And it seems that our love language in the VI or Caribbean parents, we, the talking aspect, we could get better at that. We can get better at how we relay things. We can get better at how we encourage, because we're kind of like a cut and
Right.
dry, kind of like say it how we
No
feel. and
empathy, no
and and go ahead.
consideration, just
Yeah, yeah. It's like and once again, we desensitized to it because that's
right.
all we know. So you growing up is like, okay, it's just my parents hard at me, my parents hard at me, or this is what it has to be. And then later on in your life, you recognize, okay, you could have probably said that a little different, or you could have probably, show me this in a different way. But we love our parents, and we know that, hey, man, they did the best they could. And it's just our job to be able to take the good
Mhm.
from what they did and the stuff that we feel that could have been done differently when we have our own children or however we affect the community. We know, how to go about that moving forward. So, it's just about that's life. Life is about taking the good and the bad and and seeing what to do and what
Nice.
not to do. Yeah, so I definitely feel you on that. So you go to NC State, A&T. I'm sorry, make sure North
Mhm.
Carolina A&T State, which is also that's a
Yes,
HBCU as
yes.
well. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And then you graduate, you graduate with your Bachelor of Science in
Mm-hmm.
Psych. Then you go and you do your Master's of Education in Elementary Education. When did you know that education was where
So
your heart was?
originally, the plan upon graduating, I wanted to pursue my master's in counseling, mental counseling.
Okay,
However, I found that, I do have my perception of different aspects of the mental health system that I'm not really sure that I would want to promote or be a part of. Like, they say stand for something and fall for anything. And
real. Yep.
I, especially like, of course, we're going to get into it, but even spending my time in mental health facilities, I kind of became a little bit more woke or aware of what is it really going on in the mental health.
From the inside out.
So
Wow. Yeah.
I wanted to find or choose a career path that aligns my purpose and all of the things that I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about, inspiring other people and teaching and whatnot. So that's why I kind of chose this career path because, like, of course you can talk to adults. You can try your best to influence them, show them the light, spread the light, but I think it's kind of harder to do. So that's why I kind of chose to, like, teach children, because I feel like the problem and
Yeah.
the root of the problem is really with the children. I feel like if I can
Yeah.
target that audience and be able to just shed light on my testimony or share my testimony with them, then I would be able to make a commendable change, and just be able to plant those
Yeah,
seeds
absolutely.
within those individuals to, hopefully change their lives for the better.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is like intent is everything. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us or a lot of people in general, they go into things and, it might just kind of be money driven. And people don't recognize how much money controls us. But I do believe like when you're pure in intent and you have this conviction of just wanted to help, wanted to be of
Mhm.
service. I don't care if making clothes or if you're a garbage man on the street, it doesn't matter. Like what the world needs is pure intent, and what the world needs is us to really be able to be open and share our testimonies because we all have a story, and that's the whole thing about this month, really. I mean, the entrepreneurship and mental health series is about, look, we all have a story, and we all are on this journey. Some people are less vocal than others, but for those who want to be vocal, I want to make sure that you have a platform. So let's start. So now you're teaching, you're in
Mhm.
education, and tell me when. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to that mental health stuff. Let's be on. Let's take it apart. When were you first starting to be made aware and becoming in tune with your own mental health journey?
So I'll have to take it back all the way to college. In my
Okay,
junior year of college, I had a series of mental breakdowns. These mental breakdowns were caused by, traumatic experiences that came to surface from my childhood. My father almost passed away that year. My relationship began to get toxic at the time. There were a lot of different factors that contributed to me, having those mental breakdowns. And since then, I've been in and out of mental health facilities. I also realized, like, during that time, the people that I, thought that I had very sacred bonds or relationships with that would, be able to support me in the way that I needed, because I've always, been that type of supportive friend. They were not able to reciprocate the support that I needed, or, just the time or even the energy in itself to say, "Hey, Daniel, how you doing? I'll pick up the phone and give you a call or whatnot." So Through that
Yeah.
phase, I realized so much about myself. I realized that I was very invested in a lot of things and a lot of people. I was, running 50 miles per hour and just doing everything. I wasn't really slowing down and taking the time out to not only understand that the things and the people that I was investing with was draining me, but I was also pouring from an empty cup. Um, through
Yeah.
that phase as well, I started to realize that it was important for me to take ownership and accountability for the things that I did in order to contribute to my mental breakdowns. You understand? Even like condoning
Yeah.
or indulging in certain things that I had no business with, all a learning
Yeah.
experience. And even during the time, a lot of people will say that they're advocates of mental health, but they're really not. I remember during that phase, I experienced like a lot of backlash, a lot of negativity. A lot of people were shocked, they were ashamed, they cut me off, things of that sort. Especially when even I had incidents where or episodes where I didn't even remember. You understand?
Yeah.
I went
Yeah.
live, I said a lot of things. And people were not too they were not too empathetic towards what I was going through. So kind of ironic to me
Yeah.
now that a lot of people have, to me, it seems overnight that they have become mental health advocates. So I wonder if
Hmm.
it's more because it's like a thing now.
Like it's
Yeah, it's
pop
like
culture, right?
about this and that, or I have depression, I have anxiety, this and that, and not really,
Yeah.
being genuine about it. So that's why
Yeah.
I kind of like shy away from, speaking on it, so to speak, because there were even things that I experienced during my mental health breakdowns that I don't have answers to up to this day. You understand? I'm a very smart
Yeah. Yeah.
individual. I've come across like a lot of powerful people. Even had one summer I spent my time at Peachford Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where a lot of
Wow.
celebrities go to. Kanye West, Whitney Houston has been
Yeah.
there. Like a lot of people have spent time at that hospital. And when I ran into individuals like myself, more so specifically girls within my age group, they express like, similar
Hmm.
things to me. So it's just like, about targeted individuals and Project MK. All like it's a lot. It was a lot happening, So I was
Yeah.
exposed to a lot of information, yeah, and even touching on a spiritual perspective. There were a lot of things that were going on with me spiritually as well that I wasn't aware of because I grew up in the Moravian church. I am a Christian. I believe in
Hmm.
God, but my parents were not too prone to discuss things like, yeah, the devil exists, but you don't know like how powerful he can be if you're not fully equipped with
Right.
God. You understand? Not guarded,
Right. Right. And totally in tune and really
right?
really in tune with him because
If
it's a
you're not in tune
relationship.
with
Yeah.
God, if you're not grounded in God and really, trying to protect yourself spiritually, or even like the people that you interact with, you understand? Very easy for you to
Yeah.
fall short and succumb or submit yourself to certain things and certain energy, So it was a lot for me.
Yeah.
And since then, I just, in addition to taking accountability and just like really trying to get to the root of my problems, I just realized that I have to choose me. In the end, I have to choose me and I have to do what's best for my mental health, for my peace of mind, because I have to choose peace at all costs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And we're all responsible for our own journey, and that's the thing. We have to. There's nobody else that's responsible for that. You know what I'm saying? And we all, as I've said this previously on the podcast, me, I've always been known as a person who is always there. Like that's just me. That's just who I am. Partially, I'm a Taurus, so I guess we like to feel needed or something. But but yeah, it's like after a while you recognize, look, you're stretching
Mhm.
yourself so thin, and you're leaving yourself
Right.
so far behind that by the time you ready to really deal with yourself, you really are having a breakdown, and by the time you recognize that there's
Right.
nobody around, like the same
Mhm.
people who will blow up your phone, you can't find them. They're
Yeah.
too busy for you, but you would shut everything down just for them. And I had to kind of figure out, and I'm still working
Hmm.
on it. It's not perfect yet, but you have to put yourself first, and you have to really
No,
be responsible for you. Um, that's and the fact that you were actually in the mental health system, and you recognize from the inside out, the flaws, so to speak. Let's talk about maybe one or two flaws that maybe some
mm,
misconceptions that you had or going in that you didn't know about. Let's talk
well, I
about
will
that a
just say,
little
of
bit.
course, disclaimer, this is my personal opinion based on my
Absolutely,
observations
fair enough.
of
The,
being in and out of the mental health facilities. One thing I can say, they don't, a lot of the doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, they don't take the time out to actually acknowledge spirituality. They don't understand that that's a very
mm,
key component in a lot of the mental health issues that are currently existing. Like, for example, with schizophrenia. It had a time that I was in a
hmm
group, counseling session, and it had one boy, and he was talking about how he would see or talk to his dead aunt sometimes, or how he would connect with her, or whatever the case is.
hmm
And to them, that's automatically schizophrenic. Your aunt is not there because I can't see her and I'm in my quote unquote right mind. You're telling me something else
Right.
that doesn't resonate with you. So of course you're gonna, go to the DSM
Yeah.
and automatically try to label that child as someone that has schizophrenia. So I would constantly like raise that issue when I was in therapy because there's a lot of doctors in itself, like they're atheists, and no offense to anyone that is, that's your
hmm
preference. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't think you can
Yeah.
understand the caliber of different experiences that people are having if you don't really understand like what spirituality is, or even people's personal relationships with God. And especially, us coming from the Caribbean, there's a lot of things that we probably practice or we have indulged in or we're exposed to that may be foreign to them.
hmm
I also observed that they would not take the time out to actually listen to what's going on with you. It's really about, you would go in there, you get like a 5-minute session every time with a doctor, and they just throw some medication on you. And when I would talk to, different patients on a personal level, a lot of them don't even really have problems. Like, a lot of people are quick to say, "Oh, I have depression. I have depression." I don't think you have depression. I think you have a depressive state. You understand? There's a difference between
Mm.
you having a depressive state and you, indelibly having depression. Like, and I think a
Depression.
lot of people, they're not able to
Wow.
differentiate between the two. When you're clinically diagnosed with depression, you're not eating, you're not, that's a long, drawn out period of time, versus there are different factors in
Yeah.
your life that are contributing to you having a depressive state, whether
Do
it's
you feel
finances,
right?
relationships, different things of that sort. And a
Right.
lot of them would come in there and just get the drugs, and then they're going out on the street and selling them. You understand? That's how you know there's a
Mm.
very is a big problem within the mental health system, because it's like, are you really paying attention to what's the problem? Like, are you really invested in finding a solution and helping these people, or is it really just a money making thing? You
Yeah.
And I found time after time
Right.
again, until I went to Peachford and I actually got the help that I needed, when they took me all the way back to childhood and the things that were really causing my mental breakdowns. Of course, they tried to diagnose me as bipolar. I don't claim that in the name of God, but they they
There
they
you
wouldn't
go.
understand that. They just like different check boxes in the
Yeah.
DSM, and they automatically try to put that label on you. And I don't really stand for that. So that's why, going back to why I'm a teacher versus being a psychologist, I don't know if I would be able to
Yeah.
follow the protocol that's expected of me based on man-made,
Yeah.
illnesses that they came up with.
Right. And at the same time, the mental health system is directly connected to the pharmaceutical companies. So we already know that them man just trying to sell
Yep.
drugs. You know what I'm saying? Them man just trying to pump drugs into you. They're, and once again, you found, as you said, Peachford,
Mhm.
you got the best help there. And we're grateful for that. But at the end of the day, yeah, pharmaceuticals that's what they're there for. So they're quick to just diagnose you and get you these drugs. And another good point that you made, that spirituality, you know what I'm saying? And I get it. Maybe this is too
We're
deep for
gonna
this platform, but we're gonna still
see.
talk about this because this is our right. Facts. The whole the whole point is spiritual wickedness in high places. This, and we're fight. This is everything is it's a battle, right? The devil trying to gain however many people he can before the work, before God come back for His world, and we have to understand that, yeah, even with dude saying he talking to his dead aunt, and I have to check myself about this stuff too, because like you can't be closed minded, and I can understand if you do not want to communicate about certain things because you're afraid or you don't have an understanding. But I feel like
Right.
people should not close their ears to learning and listening. So for him to say, hey man, I'm seeing my aunt even if she's gone, you know what I'm saying, and then man just saying, yeah, nah, yeah,
We have
I don't, that's not really how that works. That is crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's bigger than just me, you, like spirits run the earth. Once again, I don't know if this is the proper time, but look, we know.
no,
Those
you
who know
know.
know. If you know, you know, as the kids say. Yeah, right. So, like, just it's very hard to deal with that. But my question from this is, at that point, what do you recommend? Because now is it just the whole thought process of the secular side versus spiritual side, or do you now have to like try and find like the better help, or do you really have to do your research to make sure that the people who are trying to render the aid to you for your mental health, that they line up a little more closer to what you believe? How
For
do you feel
me,
about
I
that?
would say that I know it may sound harsh, but it's really a journey or a path that you have to walk on your own. I'm not everyone is able to do it.
Mm,
Some people they become suicidal and things of that sort where you of course you're gonna need that additional support, whether it's family, a friends, a loved one. But
yeah.
for me, I had to be conscious and I had to dive deep within my emotions and my traumatic experiences. I had to pay attention to the
Mm-hmm.
guys that I was even sexually involved with because a lot of people don't know, but you could have soul ties with people, to take on, their
Facts.
spiritual battles and their warfare. I had to pay
The struggles.
through
Yep.
when I
Yeah,
would,
they're demons.
indulge in smoking marijuana. Like there's PRAY and PREY. Pray, pray. People prey on your weed. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like there were certain things that, and now because I'm
mm,
not too sure or I don't really trust people and I'm very, spiritually aware, especially of myself, I kind of like, don't indulge in certain things
yeah.
anymore. So I had to really sit down and, take the time out to see what's the root of my problems. I had to do my research. I'm not disputing the DSM altogether. I'm not disputing or discouraging anyone from taking a medication or, seeking therapy and whatnot. But for me, it was a journey
Yeah.
that I had to walk on my own. I had to because only I know myself. There's no one that knows me better than me. So
Yeah.
despite what the naysayers may say about, oh, she bipolar, she crazy, she this, she that, I wanted to find out for me what's going on. So throughout my journey,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I did have therapy at one point. She was a very good therapist, but at some point I had to cut it off because I felt like it was kind of more of a you just charging my insurance to keep this going. Like I already spoke to
Oh
you about
wow.
my deepest, darkest secrets and my problems and this and that. So it's like at some point, it's like I have to do the work on my own. I have to actively do the work on
Mm-hmm.
my own. I can't rely on my parents, my
Mm-hmm.
significant other, my friends in order to help me figure out what's going on with me. And all in all, I had
Facts.
to repair my relationship with God. I had to. And I know, like, for those of you that are listening, you're not, too spiritual, or even if you don't believe in God, that's just my sense. Like, I've been in a car accident
Mm-hmm.
before. The car
Mm-hmm.
flipped 4 times, and I don't know how I survived that. You understand? So just like incidents like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also resonating on what my grandmother told me when I was younger. She said, Danielle, you're not gonna know God until you go through life. And me, going towards
Facts.
25 years of age, I could honestly say like that's the truth. I know God because I had to go through life. I had to
Yeah.
walk the walk. And a lot of people, you could still do
Yeah.
your research. You could do all of that, but are you actually being dedicated to your journey and, your mental health? So that's really what I had to do.
Hmm. That's real. This is real. This is real. Let's get to your creative side. You have the brand Raw. That was not your first brand, you told me. Let's talk about the
So
process of
yes,
getting to
Raw
Raw.
was not my first brand. Like I told you, I had a brand called So Swanny. It was a partnership, a
Hmm.
collaboration with one of my best friends from high school. And I found like, as we got older, we started to grow apart too. I don't think that she understood like the seriousness of what it took to, start a business and, to generate funds and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I became drained because I was very invested in it. I'm very dedicated, I'm very ambitious.
Hmm.
So I just, decided one day, you know what, I'm going to just cut that off. I really don't want no ties with it, especially if this do plan to blow up one day. I don't need nobody in my ear trying to sue me because she came
Yeah, yeah,
name.
yeah.
And in
Facts.
addition to that,
Facts.
I would put together like I was actually one of the first brands to put Virgin Islands slangs on apparel. Um, Slangs like Tech Cat
Oh
and
wow.
Wo Sang, different that sort. And like I told you, even though
Yeah.
I love my culture, I kind of wanted to stray away from that because I don't want to be labeled as a local. Yeah,
That box. Yeah, that local
where I'm
box. Yeah.
only getting
Get
a
trapped in
certain
that
amount of
hole.
clientele. I'm only generating a certain amount of profit because I have this one audience. So, um, in addition
Hmm.
to that, with my mental health journey, I was like, you know what? I just want to be Danielle. I don't want to be what my dad thinks I should be, what the people back home think I should be, or what their perception is of me. I want to be myself. And yeah,
How free?
that,
How freeing is that? Just
it
by
was very
for you to
freeing.
even get
I
there.
felt like I haven't been free for 25 years. You know what I mean? It took that
Wow.
long. And
Yeah.
I came up with the
Yeah.
acronym RAW, Real Authentic World Class. And I don't know if anybody catches it, but it's society and it's not spelt the traditional way. It has TEE at the end because I
Yep.
started off with t-shirts.
Yep.
Really and truly,
T-shirts.
our
Yep. Yep.
society
Yep.
just represents a class of
Genius.
individuals that, they own their truth, they're unapologetic, and they're just very authentic in every way and everything that they do. um Really and truly, a lot of people may be surprised by this, but I'm not really concerned about making money. For me, it's about the movement. Of course, you want to generate funds because you have to
Yeah.
keep your business going and stuff like that, but I'm not really concerned about blowing up and being at the forefront or being everyone's favorite brand. That's not my concern. It's really about just
Hmm.
reaching out to different people and supporting the movement that I had, just really owning your truth. And it's been beautiful in itself. A side note, I dabble, like I tell you, I dabble in everything. I used to dance.
Facts. She for those who are listening, another reason I love Danielle, she is one of those who
I ain't
do it
gonna ask you.
herself. She ain't gonna ask you to do pretty much literally. If she asks you to do something, it's literally it must have been rocket science that she just don't have the time to learn, because if she had the time,
Eh,
she would have learned the rocket science too. So all in all, the beauty of Danielle is that she literally has her hand in
I
everything
do
that she does.
graphic
But go ahead,
design.
not to cut you
I
off.
I cut the vinyl, I press it, I do my tags myself, I build my website myself. The even down to my productions. The only thing that my photographer does is film it. I do the directing, I do the styling, I sponsor everything, and it all came out of pocket. Like I started my brand with like $10,000 of my own money, and I know it don't really, you'd be like $10,000, but when you really think about like the
Yeah,
nitty
yeah,
gritty,
yeah.
like when it comes to like getting your LLC, the trademark, like everything, like all the details,
Facts.
I yeah, it goes really
That 10
fast,
grand goes
really
quick.
fast. So
Real fast.
I'm proud of myself. I'm the first person, I'm probably the only in my family that has pursued a venture as this. And it's very beautiful to see, like, the growth over time. The only thing that kind of triggers me is that I've handmade over 300 products in the past year. My year anniversary is actually coming up in June. It's on Juneteenth. And I don't really see as much people, like, like when you
Wow.
receive the packaging, they will share it or promote it on social media. So it's like,
Hmm.
it's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing. For me, it's like, they kind of silently
Yeah.
supporting me, but nonetheless, it's support. So it's just something that, kind of
Yeah.
it causes question, like raises questions in my mind.
As a human being, you try to figure out
Yeah,
like,
you know.
okay, is it because it's me? Because it's where is it my face? And that's hard. It's tough because you always it's always about fighting yourself. It's always about trying to get out your own head, and that's what one of the hardest battles. Even with the mental health stuff is like
Yeah,
being getting outside your own head or
it's
being
hard.
trapped in your own head is like the hardest thing. I said on like a podcast before, a man could be trapped
Mm.
under a rock and he'll break his own arm to get from under the rock, right? And he'll my arm is broke, but I'm free. But like, dog, ain't that easy? You can't really break anything when you're trapped in your own mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why you have people who sometimes, you know, commit suicide and stuff like that because they felt like, oh, what's going on right now is so bad. I can't escape it, and it might as well I escape it this way. So it's very tough. But
Mm.
you know me, I gonna just encourage you,
Yeah.
like, don't see no face. Just you doing
Yeah, I just keep it,
what you believe.
so I'm
Yeah,
despite the
yeah, keep it raw.
COVID-19, the pandemic, everything that's going on, I'm still gonna try to push to execute
Yep.
my summer anniversary collection on Juneteenth. So you guys stay tuned for that. It's called, by the way, just to give you first dibs. It's called Culture Shock. Yeah,
There you go. Say, okay, culture shock, culture shock. You heard it here first on the FYI podcast, guys.
yeah,
We like those exclusives. We appreciate that. So look out for the culture shock collection coming from Raw. Hopefully real soon. Um, so Raw is and everything that you do makes you the
like
entrepreneur, makes you
position.
the one of those yeah, yeah, exactly. And I like that because I tell people all the time, look, the Renaissance man has come back. Like when we were growing up, it was kind of said, hey man, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I do truly believe now because of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's mostly because of the internet. People are allowed to have an online
Mm-hmm.
business, have a 9 to 5, work on this other thing over here, and it's become accepted. So for you to be a Jill of all
It's beautiful.
trades is
Only thing I
is
don't
a beautiful
them
thing.
fancy lace fronting
Uh,
them girl to do. That's it.
yeah.
That's it. I don't. Yeah. I got
You got their
but
list
I ain't
front game
messing with
up.
it.
Yeah. That's fair. Hey, I had to pay for some things too. I would never touch my own head. I'd tell my girlfriend all the time, look, she would try
Uh,
to cut my hair in COVID. I said, look, let me tell you something. Women they have beautiful bodies, they have beautiful faces, they have multiple different things that they can look at. Me, all I have is
right.
my
That's the
half
least
decent face.
you
You not to mess that up. Period. That's the least. Leave that alone, brother. I will go raw and uncut with the
do. Yeah.
beard and everything till I get a proper haircut. Because I am not ruining that. And don't tell me to shave myself. Don't tell me
I
to
do
cut my
it.
own hair. I am not doing that, brother. Too, yeah, not doing it. How? Let's talk. Go back. Let's talk about the daily things that you do to keep in a positive headspace. For those who are going through some of the things that you're going through and they're feeling connected to your story. Give us some examples of how, on a daily basis, you stay in a positive and a
The
beautiful
first thing that I
headspace as
would
much as
say
you
is
can.
music is medicine. Right now, I have not been in an
Mm,
exclusive relationship for 5 years. I have not, I don't have kids. I live by myself. It's just me out here. I don't have any like
mm-hmm,
immediate family and I don't have much friends. So I would definitely say that music has saved me in a lot of ways. Um, it can alter my mood and I
yeah,
just feel like it has made a very positive impact on, me trying to wallow in my depression or depressive states at time. So I would definitely say listen to a lot of music.
yeah,
Listen to a
yeah,
lot of music. Don't if you're in a bad, a sad type of mood, of course you don't listen to love music and all that music
yeah.
that
Stuff that would
uplift
trigger you and make
yourself.
you feel even
I
worse.
journal a lot. I write a lot.
Mm-hmm,
And I feel like writing is one of my favorite outlets because it's raw and it's uncut. Especially because it's personable between me, myself, and
mm-hmm,
I. So I would highly encourage, for someone to
mm-hmm.
invest in a journal and write down your thoughts, especially the things that you want to manifest in your life. Like, manifestation is real. Write down action plans. I try to dabble
Mm-hmm.
in like, different hobbies and stuff like that. So I watch a lot of YouTube. I get a lot of inspiration from there. And I just try to be like in tune with myself. I make myself laugh. Like, a lot of people may say, it's crazy to talk to yourself. Like, no, I make myself, I feel like
No, no.
if
Me too. Me too. I talk to myself
okay.
more
And if you
now probably than I ever have in
comfortable with
life.
your own company, you don't like your own company, then how can you really enjoy anybody else's? I have to be comfortable in my skin. And I just
Facts.
find that when I do these things on a day-to-day basis, and oh yeah, something else I also dabble in, I have a planner. So, for those of you that are busybodies, I find that planning, like, I get my stickers and my markers and my Sharpie pens and stuff, and I plan out the whole month. Like, that's something that's very therapeutic for me. I burn a lot of sage, burn a lot of
Hmm.
candles. I watch some
Yeah.
sermons online since I
Yeah.
can't go to church right now. Those are just like my day-to-day activities or weekly activities that I try to indulge in just to keep my peace of mind.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And another thing is like I try and what I've realized is that it's a daily process. And I think the one day that you say, I ain't gonna take my mental health seriously or I ain't gonna pay no attention to it, that's the day you won't get got. And I think I started to really realize that like you have to do the daily work. Like you can't really leave just like a relationship, right? If you're married for 20 years, I'm pretty sure that if you take, a couple of days off a week just to not tend to your significant other or not think about them or nothing, like that ain't gonna last that long, right? So it's like you actively have to work on things that you want to become better at. Just like we actively work on our bodies and work out, or you actively, you know, whatever, go for a walk, do stuff like that. Like you actively have to really work on your mental
I
health. Is just as
I like
important,
that
if
you
not more
mentioned like
important,
actively
than your
working.
physical health.
In terms of like your thinking, I think like a lot of people think like you just wake up and have a positive mindset or you're an optimistic thinker, and it doesn't work like that. Um, for a long
Not
period
at
of
all.
time, like I had a lot of self-doubt about myself. I wasn't really too sure of myself. It's crazy, like, on the outside looking in, a lot of people held me to high regards and I think I'm this amazing person, and of like they think I'm this amazing person, but for me personally, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So I had to actively practice
Hmm.
positive thinking, like I put down my positive quotes on my sticky note or something might pop in my head. I might write that down or even having an affirmation list. I had to look myself in the mirror and tell myself I'm beautiful
Yeah.
every day. So like I want a lot of people to understand that they'd be like, oh, how about a gout on my head? How do I stop overthinking? Or I feel depressed and stuff. Like you have to practice that. Like it's not something that's just gonna come to you, especially if you've
Yeah.
been surrounded by individuals or even in an environment that is toxic and detrimental to your mental health. It's not something that's gonna come easy for you. So you have to offer yourself patience and grace.
Yeah.
Like my word of the year, like I pick a word every year that's like my theme, and this grace. You have to offer yourself
Hmm.
grace. You have to be
Okay.
willing to know that, you've messed
Yeah.
up in the past, other people have messed up, but you have to offer them grace like how God offered you grace. So that's just something I wanted to put out there.
Yeah. That's beautiful, beautiful. That's and back to what you just said. Affirmations, speaking what speaking the power of the tongue, man. Period. The power of the tongue is a real thing. It's a tangible thing. It's not just this
Mhm.
ideology that's in the Bible. Like no, you have all the power in your tongue. You have to make sure you speak well of yourself and grace. That's a
Yep.
beautiful way I think for us to end this because
Yep.
you have to be able to forgive yourself. You have to be able to forgive others,
Mm.
just for your own peace of mind. And forgiving doesn't mean you crawl back to them. Forgiving doesn't mean that you go back to that toxic situation, but it does mean that you move yourself personally forward from that. No matter how long it takes, it might take a year, it might take 10 years, but make sure that you don't hold on to things because that in itself, walking with baggage, is a way to really
Most
be
definitely.
detrimental to your own mental health. Talk to the people. Tell them where they can find you, Danielle. Tell them where they can get the clothes.
Well, of course, you
Talk,
guys
plug
can find
yourself
me on
on
Facebook and
unashamed.
Instagram, Raw Society. That's RAWSOCIETEE, like t-shirts. Of course, you can find my different products online, www.rawsociety.com. I've had a blowout sale for a couple of months now, just trying to get rid of the inventory from the last collection. So you guys can hop on there and get 50% off of everything. Kind of want to get like the new collection to be like the face of the website. So you guys can hop on there and go ahead and shop.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the FYI podcast. It was a pleasure. Your story is definitely one of those stories that I wanted to get out there. So thank you for being so brave and coming on here. And hopefully somebody heard
Thank
something
you
that
so much
they
for
can learn
having me,
from
and
and
you
take
stay
with them.
blessed and safe and keep doing what you're doing because we need more people like you in the world. All
I
right.
appreciate that, man. You do the same, man. Until next time. Yo, man, thanks for tuning into my podcast. Please don't forget to review, rate, and share. That would help me out a lot, and it helps get the platform bigger and better. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at FlyYoungIntellectual, at FlyYoungIntellectual. Hit me on Twitter, at Mr. MISTER_FYI. Connect with me, man. 2020, we're doing bigger and better things. If you really like the platform, tell somebody about it, man. Until next time, peace.